right, we're going to continue with our next element. Now this would be the fourth box on your paper. Okay, so far we have line, color, our line, shape, color, and then we have space down here. Okay, so space is a little bit different because with space we're trying to create the illusion of things having depth. All right, now if you notice my little box right here, it's not finished. And you'll also notice that my pages are bent and torn. My grandson got a hold of it. All right, so I'm trying to fix that. All right, so space on your note side. So we're going to write down the notes for space. And space has 6 properties that we're supposed to remember all the time as artists. So the first one, and when we use space and how we create space, is we can use overlapping. Overlapping is where you put objects on top of other objects, just like I did here. Okay, the next one is size. So we can have big and we can have small, right? So we can have big shapes, we can have little shapes. And space, when we use size, the big shapes appear to be closer to us and the smaller shapes appear to be further away. All right, now when we overlap, sorry I didn't include this, overlap, the ones that are underneath appear to be further away. Okay, so that's what overlapping does. Now focus, when we have focus, things that are close are going to be more detailed. They're going to have more detail, brighter colors. We'll be able to see things better. And as they move back, the colors will fade, so they'll get lighter or a little bit lighter and blurry, dull the colors, and then as they move back even more, it dulls even more. Okay, so that's focus. Now the next one is placement. Okay, so placement is the way we place our shapes and objects on our pictures. If we put them lower on the paper, okay, like my hand is lower, then it appears closer to you. All right, so when it's low in the picture plane, it appears closer. When it's high up, it appears to be further away. So when we have things down low, they're closer, and higher up, they're further away. And when the same thing with size, when it's big, it's closer. When it's small, it's further away. All right, the next one is value and intensity. Now value has to do with the lightness and the darkness of a color. How bright or how light or how dark the color is. So you can have a really, really dark blue, like indigo blue, and then as it moves to the other side, it becomes baby blue. So there's very slow changes in here. So this one shows value. Okay. The next one on here is intensity. Now intensity is a little bit different because intensity has to do with how bright and how dull a color is. And we're going to talk about that with the value box, okay? So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Now the last one is linear perspective. And this is the use of lines that converge into one point or 2 points to create the illusion of depth. We did it last year with the shape one, the 15 shapes one, okay? Now I'm going to open this up. And this is my space. So you can see that I've created, and it's not finished, but my dull colors are in the back, and I used overlapping, so I had the little heels that are slowly moving back, right? And the trees that are closer are bigger, and as they move back in space, they get smaller and smaller. Okay, so this is something that you're going to create. You need to create space in your picture, and you can do it any way you'd like to. All right, so space is one of those elements that is kind of harder to create, but we'll do it, right? Okay, now our next box has to do with value and intensity. Okay, so on the back of your box, okay, on the back of your box, you'll write that value is the lightness and the darkness of a color. So it goes from like dark, and this is just the grays. So this goes from dark, slowly changes to light. So dark to light. Now intensity and value intensity has to do with complementary colors, which are opposite each other on the color wheel, and we want to change the brightness of the color. So if you have yellow, the color yellow, and we slowly add purple to it, okay, or violet, we slowly add violet to it, it's going to change the intensity of the yellow. The same thing with the violet. If we add a little bit of yellow, then it will change the intensity of that color. All right, I'll show you my example of that box. Okay, so on the top part of my box, you can see that I did value using color. Okay, so how I do that is I take my color, and to make it go lighter, I add white. Now to make it go darker, I add black. Okay, so on this one, it's red. Here's the red, and then I took red and I added black or gray. You can add gray for this one. Okay, and then I added black to this one to make it go darker. So you take the red, add gray, red and gray and the red, and then red and black and red. Okay, and to go this way, you want to add the white. You're mixing the colors together. So you take the red and you add white over the top with your colored pencil, and then you add a little bit of red over the top. And the same thing here with the pink. So you take the red very lightly, color very lightly, and then put the white over the top. And the same thing in my background. You can see how this is dark red, or this red over here, and it slowly goes to this pink. Okay, because pink is a derivative of red, right? Okay, so here we go. On the bottom, I did it with just a regular pencil. So I showed the dark and how it slowly changes to white, and then in the background I did the same thing. I had it slowly change from dark to white. Now this is intensity here in the middle. So I had yellow and I slowly added the purple to the yellow until it turns purple. That's intensity, how we change the intensity. So these colors are less bright than this yellow, and I did the same thing in the background. All right, now our last box is texture. Last box is texture. Okay, and texture, right, just happens to be, there are two types of texture. The texture is how things feel and how they look as though they might feel if we touch it. Like if my hair, it has a certain way it looks and it feels. Okay, and my shirt, it looks and feels a different way. Everything has a texture and how it feels. Okay, now texture, I'll put that as close as I can, is how things look or feel. All right, let's see, it says how things feel or look as though they might feel if we touch it. Okay. Now, on the bottom it shows that there are two types of texture. The two types of texture that we have are visual texture and real texture. So, visual texture, we use lines, dots to create those textures. Okay, you can see that. Real texture is real texture. Okay, like my hair is a real texture, and my mask, it has a real texture. And how would we draw that or complete that? Now, real textures on your box, which I don't have my box done, you're going to complete the box by putting 5 drawn textures or 5 visual textures on that box. And you're going to put 5 actual textures. And the way you would do that is you can take an actual thing, okay, like you could put, I'm going to get started.